G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists in Australia do what they do. Well, good day viewers and welcome back to Colour in Your Life. Another very special day today and actually with a very good friend of mine, a gentleman called Mr. Mark Waller. Mark.
Graham.
Thanks for being on the show.
Pleasure, buddy.
This is going to be a great day. Very talented man. Mark and I have a history. We actually did a show in New York, 2003.
Yep.
And it was really designed to sort of pay it forward in a sense, which is really what Colour in Life's about. It's education, helping other people out. And we literally gave all the paintings and the money away that we raised to various charities, even in Australia and throughout America. So just designed to help people out, which is really what this is about today. Mark, I would think, was probably one of the best teachers in Australia as far as using acrylics, chroma interactives. He really is a master of the acrylic medium. And we're going to spend the day with Mark working on a number of different pieces and then seeing the techniques that he does, particularly with water. You're really well renowned for your water paintings.
Yes.
And water's an extremely difficult thing to do. You've got reflection, refraction, a whole bunch of other shadow involved in it as well.
Absolutely.
But Mark is going to take us through that using the chroma interactive paints, and you'll be able to see the quality of these paints, plus the free flow as well.
Absolutely.
Which is an
new
essential
discovery for me.
Yeah, new discovery, amazing properties. As we go through, you can talk about the properties of those as we actually start to do the work.
Yep.
Because this is cutting edge science involved in paint. So really extraordinary stuff.
Oh, it makes my job so much easier.
Oh, it's incredible. So let's go with Mark for the ride today and you'll see some pretty amazing things. Let's go for it. All right, now with Mark's work, you're going to see some pretty dynamic gymnastics involved in this today as well. So far away, what are you going to do with this? This is our first one out of the ones that we're going to be doing. Just explain to us.
I'm pretty much known for painting pandanus trees. So what I'm going to do is paint the head of a pandanus tree here, a bit of light and reflection. But this is the roughing in process. So for me, this is like a warm-up. Every time an elite athlete or anything like that, and I'm of course drawing the analogy here, does any sort of activity, they warm up. And so for me, this is the warm-up. So I'm just going to give myself roughly a frame to work in, and now my pandanus tree is going to happen in there.
Okay.
Now, because I work with acrylics all the time and you develop a process over years and years and years, it doesn't mean you shouldn't experiment. And I've come across this stuff and it's fantastic. I've actually found that for blocking in and for setting up your paintings, it's excellent. I mean, the colour goes for miles. You squeeze a little bit into a jar and it goes forever.
Okay.
So it's great for roughing in everything and it dries matte and you can work straight over the top of it. So that's what I'll do. I'll set it all up using this stuff.
Okay, that's the free flow.
That's the free flow, yeah.
Okay.
And that'll be my warm-up. And then I'll put that to the side and go to another painting and use the interactive where I need to blend more.
Okay,
so
let's get into it then.
Okay, so I've got my naphtha red now. I'm going to get my photo reference and just start throwing some lines down. So I want the head of the pandanus tree to be kind of there, and that'll be the branch coming in there like that. People think that I have an unhealthy obsession with pandanus trees, and I kind of do, but it's more about the opportunities for creating the illusion of depth. They're so layered, you know, there's branches going in all different directions and leaves in front of one another. And so there's so many opportunities there for you to, you know, create branches disappearing off in different angles. And so roughly all I'm doing now is kind of setting the thing up
I mean, you're really just mapping the whole thing in, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's great doing it with that red, because these pieces of red, these little flashes of red will show through later on. So that's a rough idea at this point, and that kind of gives me an idea of, you know, colours or you know, shapes anyway. For me, a painting too, when you mark up a painting, you draw your lines and it has composition from that point of view. But then when you start adding tone and colour, the composition can change. You know, a dark area can counterbalance a light area, etc., etc. So I like to get all of the darks, everything blocked in right from the word go, and then that way I know whether or not the whole painting balances. And I really don't feel like I can know that until the whole canvas is covered with a close approximation of what I'm actually going to put there.
Sure, but they're all just foundation washes.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's literally just building a house. You put your frames up, and you can't put architraves on until the frames and everything's up. So I'm just going to come back with my green here now, and check this out. I mean, I'm literally just sticking this brush in here, and look how well that's covering. It's just fantastic. Beautiful. It's like pushing satin around.
It just fills the space, doesn't it?
Completely.
Yeah.
And at this stage, I'm using kind of dull colours.
Yeah.
So it kind of doesn't maybe have the impact that it will when I start putting the bright colours on. So you can see I'm just leaving some little white bits here and there, because there's a couple of leaves I want to go in front of the others. So if I just leave a little bit of colour.
Oh, it's just really just a marker for you.
Just to remind me,
yeah.
You know, that's kind of roughed in there now. I'm just going to block in the trunk here.
Yep.
I'm just putting a little bit of burnt umber on my palette. I don't really need much, so I don't need a container full of it, because as I said, this stuff goes for miles.
But I'm actually looking at your palette there.
This is my patented invention here. When you're working with paint all the time, the last thing you want to do is dish out paint and have it go dry on you, especially when it's reasonably expensive. So what I do is this is just a piece of ply and a piece of board with a towel and a bit of shower curtain wrapped around it. So I put my paints in here, dampen the towel, throw that over the top when I'm done. And then at the end of the day,
you just wrap it up.
Roll the whole up and shove it in the cupboard.
That's
and it'll stay like that for days. The paint will stay mobile for days.
Particularly with acrylics, because they do have the tendency to dry out. But
they do, yeah.
That's just fabulous.
The trick with it is, though, make sure you use a plastic that's got a little bit of texture on it that the paint will stick to, because if it's too smooth, the paint will skin and you'll end up pulling up paint.
All right, where do we go from here with that burnt umber?
So now what we do is I just block in my pandanus tree branch there like that. And I'm, again, not taking too much care with it. And you'll notice that I've actually thinned that out quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because burnt umber has this lovely kind of red gold quality to it. But when it gets dark and you put it on really solidly, it gets a bit dull and dead. So I've left a little bit of that thin so that the red shows through it. And I think I want to put a branch through here.
Yeah. But it's just, I mean, doing things like that really is experience on your composition, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a matter of looking at your painting and seeing if there's any holes in it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm setting myself up to make it a little bit easier for myself later. So I'm going to make it deeper water receding off into the distance and shallower water. So I'll do a gradation of colour with that. And that's actually one of the things that this free flow does surprisingly well too. Like it blends really nicely.
Okay.
I think just because it's so mobile.
Yeah, and I think the thing with acrylic sometimes is that they just dry. And the thing with these guys is that you can continue to manoeuvre them around.
Absolutely. And see, while I can get a reasonably good gradation of colour with this free flow, I know I can get a fantastic gradation of colour with the interactive. And even if it does get away from me a little bit of the unlocking formula, bang. I'm pretty sure, I don't think there's any paint in the world that will do that. So I'm going to try something that's never been done before. What I'm actually going to do is I've got this lovely phthalo green, which looks fantastic, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the interactive, because apparently all of these paints work together. So I'm just going to see what happens. I want a lovely sort of sea greeny kind of colour. So I'm going to mix something up and see what happens. Makes you want to eat it. Now normally what I'd do is I'd mix up my darker colour and work my way down, but I'm in love with this. I'm not letting this go anywhere. So I'm going to put this right kind of here, where I want it to go.
Yeah, it's a great looking colour,
isn't it fantastic?
Yeah, it really is.
So if you don't paint, and you look at this colour, you'll want to paint.
It's addictive, isn't it?
It really is. There we go. Now I want to make that a little bit shallower, so I'm just going to steal a bit of this interactive and add that to it. Don't do this at home.
Oh, okay.
I'm always saying don't stick your toe pots in there, but this one's nearly empty, so
well, that's okay.
I can get away with it.
So, and this just lightens it up a little further, does it?
Warms it up a little bit, yeah, to create the illusion of coming forward into shallow water, you know, a bit of sand.
Okay.
Paintings, for me, it's a philosophy. You know, it's a life philosophy. And one of the things people say, oh, you know, when you teach, you're really, really generous. It's not that I'm generous, it's just that I am so excited about being able to do this. Why I can't not share it with people. And the other thing too is that one of the beautiful things about painting is that when you share painting skills with people, it teaches them to look at the world in a different way. And I cannot think of a greater gift than to give someone the ability to find magic in the world.
And that's, in saying that, a lot of the comments we get back are from people saying exactly that all over the world. It's going, oh, it's just so great that we...
I mean, the world is full of magic and colour and light and spectacular things, and we get caught in and I do it myself, I get caught in my mortgage or worrying about stuff, but truly, when you open your eyes, there's miracles everywhere. One of the things about painting, well, pretty much anything really, but particularly pandanus trees, is understanding a little bit of nuance about light. But what I'm going to do now is just using some ultramarine blue, which is quite a warm blue, and I use that specifically because I want to create the illusion of it being a really warm summer's day. See this leaf here, I want that leaf to roll over like that. And then this leaf here looks to me like that's going to roll in there, like that. Again, this is all very rudimentary, but what's going to happen too is that light's going to hit that water underneath and bounce back up underneath. So I'm going to put all these wonderful golds and things on the underside of the branches and stuff.
Okay.
It's amazing how the more you look, the more light you find, you know? And I can create the illusion of that branch moving away from me. So that's pretty much the painting roughed in, blocked in. Most of the framework is where it needs to be, and I'll put that away and dry.
So we move on to the next one.
We move on. So what I want to do is, when I'm building the painting, painting water, there's a real art to it. There's so many layers and levels. So one of the things I want to do is create that lovely refraction on the underside. So this is kind of my little technique. And I'm not worried too much about going over these pandanus tree leaves again. They're just there so that I can come back to them later on. But you can see that pattern? It's like that
and
pattern.
You're just rolling the brush across the top?
Rolling the brush and
that's amazing.
Doing that at the same time. And my approach to painting water is very much a four-part process. There's fundamentally four elements that you need to understand to be able to paint water really reasonably well. And the first one is the substrate or the sand or whatever the water's sitting on. The second thing is water, because it has a colour, so the colour of water itself. And then the third thing and the fourth thing are two items that are sort of very, very interrelated. It's the surface of the water. Now the surface of the water will do two things. It will allow you to see beneath the water and what's reflected above the water. So the surface of the water is actually really, really important. But when you understand how all of those four elements, the substrate, the colour of the water, and the surface of the water and the light, how they all work together, you can pretty much paint water anytime, anywhere, any circumstances, because you understand how all the elements work together. So I'm going to intensify that wave a little bit. And just by pushing up that burnt umber in there, that will create the illusion of this being shallower and steeper at this point than out there, for example.
Okay.
So this is a little trick. Water's highly reflective, so I want to create the impression of this light reflecting onto the surface of the water there. And I've really only got to drag a few dry brushes across.
Ah, yes, beautiful.
Yeah. Now, and again, this is still all blocking in. I'm going to actually start putting that, see, pushing that whitewash in there, like that. But again, water's highly reflective.
Stroking down to
So
stroke
I bring the
across.
stroke down to create the illusion of that light being reflected down,
Yep.
and then drag the brush across like this to start creating the illusion of the surface of the water. And because this white's quite strong, you can actually make these reflections here in the water incredibly strong. You can really bump them up. And so I'll just repeat this process over and over and over and over again, building this up. And this is a little trick that I use in just about all of my paintings of the beach. Okay.
All right, so we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, we'll get rid of this one.
The next techniques.
One after the other.
Well, that's the beauty about today. But look at that. Isn't that beautiful? My goodness.
So what I've done here is I'm pretty happy with the water, but you know, that's not to say it won't come back. And what I'm going to do is, as I said before, light bounces around everywhere. So what I want to do here is create the illusion of light hitting the sand and bouncing back up on the underside of the tree.
Yes.
I also want to create the illusion of light striking certain leaves here and there, but also filtering through and hitting parts of the branches. So each stage, every painting that I do, I break it down into 3 stages. There's the roughing in stage, then there's the intermediate stage, and then there's the final stage, which is all the little bits and pieces of detail. But even in the intermediate stage, there's areas that are roughed in. So for example, what I'm going to do now is, as you can see, I've very loosely roughed in areas here, and I've made this golder on the underside of this branch here to bring it forward. And the branches that are further away, I've put blue on to push them away to create the illusion of light. But I can put a warm blue on here to create the illusion of the light coming from here, and a cool blue to create the illusion of light coming from here. So there's so many different layers. But what I'll do now is I'll go through and just rough in all of the shapes of my pandanus tree so I know where and when to put my highlights and things. I'm just going to go through actually now and just put a couple of highlights on my tree trunks because I want the light filtering through there. So I'm mixing up sort of a goldeny yellow colour, for want of a better term. It's really important when you paint not to get kind of tied up in detail and get carried away with sort of all the fine stuff. So I actually trick myself and tell myself the whole time that I'm blocking in things. So even if these marks do seem a little extreme, I know that I can still come back later on and, you know, change them or soften them or whatever. Or even if I can't, I kind of convince myself that I can so that I'm painting freely instead of, you know, worrying. Because that's probably one of the things that affects your paintings more than anything, is being sort of stilted and kind of trying too hard. It's a Zen principle, effortless effort. Apparently.
But I mean, the fact is that you can see that sun coming through, and it's a couple of dry brush strokes.
Yep.
You don't have to labour over it.
No.
It's the impression, isn't it?
It is, and look, to be honest, I will come back later on and make them more convincing and more compelling. But at this stage, this is all just me still, you know, moving things around, playing with colour and light, and just kind of stand back and have a look. I can live with that. It's lightened up some of that darker areas.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot more work that goes over that. So now I'm just going to imagine that this leaf here is lit from up above. So there's a little bit of light coming through there. And I'm just going to pretend that that's hitting the inside edge of that leaf. And I want that lovely kind of scalloped shape that pandanus leaves have. So I do that there, like that.
But you can see just with those daubs of light that you've got in there, the whole picture just
starts to pop out, doesn't it?
Three-dimensional,
yeah. And I never get sick of that. It's so exciting. Now the other thing too is that some of these leaves are going to be hit by light, which is on the other side of the leaf. So they're going to be backlit. So what I want to do is, and this is a really nice way of adding a little bit of interest to your painting, is to pretend that you've got some of these leaves here being backlit. So I'm going to mix up my ultramarine blue, and we're going to pretend that the light's coming in, a little bit of that skylight's coming in. So I want this here, where a pandanus leaf hits the tree is beautiful. It's got this lovely kind of curved, kind of sculptured shape. So what I'm going to do here is we'll pretend that this is a leaf. Can you see that there? There's a leaf there. But now, as this leaf comes around here, it's going to start reflecting light from the underneath. So I want to get a little bit of light bouncing up from underneath there, and I'm not worrying too much about the colour. At this point it's all being more sculptural than anything, so I'm going to bring that down there like that, and I think I'm going to put this leaf in front of that one. So now this leaf here is going to have light bouncing up and hitting the underside of it like this, and because it's a scallop shape it's going to fade out as it comes to here. I'm starting to create the impression of light bouncing up from the underside, and again I'm still just scrubbing it in, you know, there's no point in me getting, you know, too worked up about detail.
Yeah.
And of course later on, if I want to blend this, I get my unlocking formula, spray it on, mix it in, spread it out.
Yeah.
This stuff, the unlocking formula really is, it's like having a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
It really is.
Okay. But you can see the depth of field coming into it now.
Yeah, and hopefully it should be starting to show a little bit of you know, depth and dimensions. There's a bit of light bouncing up off the underside, hitting there.
Yes. And this is still, this is actually using the interactives now, isn't it?
This is using the interactive. The interactive I find is absolutely unparalleled for blending as far as acrylics are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
To me, as someone who paints professionally, I want to use the products that work the best. If you want to make paintings, you can make paintings, but use the best paint you possibly can. All right, so there's hours more work involved in this. I'm going to leave it now. It'll end up eventually looking something like that.
Sensational. I mean, with the beauty of television, you can obviously see that we've screened the finished piece in, and it looks absolutely magnificent, as all of your work does.
Thanks, Graham, very much.
So thank you very much for being on the show, bud.
My pleasure, buddy. It's been great. It's been fantastic.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
As I said, Mark is one of the best, as far as I know, one of the best acrylic teachers in the country. He also has a number of his own DVDs out that you can actually buy, which go through a number of different types of fundamentals as far as artwork is concerned with acrylics.
And more coming soon.
Okay, and your website is for these?
ExploreAcrylicPainting.com. Lots and lots of free tips and tutorials and e-zines, YouTube footage. It's your one-stop shop for learning to paint with acrylics.
Sensational and a great day. Really like to thank Chroma. Chroma was a big part of actually getting Mark to us as well.
Absolutely.
You work very closely with them.
I do, and I only work with the best. I mean, I do this for a living. I want to use the best.
So thank you very much to Chroma and all our other sponsors as well. Thank you so much, bud. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure.
We'll move on again. We're at beautiful Lennox Head, so we're going to head back up the coast again. But till we meet again, guys, remember, make sure you put some colour in your life.
Put some colour in your life.
Bye, guys. Bye.
See you later.